So I would like to invite Mr. David Meltzer, representing Tripwire. Mr. Meltzer is Chief Technology Officer at Tripwire.
Hello, everyone. I'm David Meltzer, the Chief Technology Officer at Tripwire. And today I'm going to be talking to you about security configuration management, an important part of any overall IT security program. As CTO at Tripwire, I have the opportunity to go around the world and talk to many of our over 2,000 customers, this year virtually, about how their security configuration management programs are operating. How are they using them today? And what are some of the attributes of their programs that other organizations like yours might be able to take advantage of? I'm going to spend the next couple of minutes giving you some background on this important security control, and then a couple of quick case studies on it as well. So let's jump into it. SCM is a key to all security programs. When I think about security overall, I start with the CIA triad. Most of you are familiar with that triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. I'm going to particularly focus on that integrity piece today when talking about SCM. If you're an organization with cyber physical assets, industrial or OT systems, I'm sure safety is another key consideration that's top of mind for you, along with the CIA triad. No matter which security framework that you've adopted for your organization, for example, ISO 2700102, or maybe the CIS top 20 controls, maybe in the US, the NIST cybersecurity framework, or if you're in a particular industry, there are more focused industry regulations, like, for example, IEC 62443 on the industrial cybersecurity side. All of them have key parts of their control frameworks, some level of change management and change control that's required. These may also be referred to as minimum security baselines, system hardening, or device hardening. For example, in ISO 27001, change monitoring or integrity management is all over different controls that they call out, but it also fits into change management, technical compliance checking, and the need for integrity is covered in other sections as well. It really comes down to the idea that if you don't know what systems you have, if you don't know how they're configured, whether that's the proper configuration, and whether these changes that are happening on your systems are actually the ones that are supposed to be occurring, there's no way that you can maintain or just plain know if these systems are secure. From a CIS perspective, you could hone in on one particular CIS control, like secure configuration monitoring. But having things like an inventory of your systems and applications requires a deep understanding of system state and how it's changing over time, and that can be covered in other CIS controls as well. An effective SCM program is the foundation of many of these basic controls. When I start thinking about the value of doing SCM, you can split that into different parts of the organization and the value that they'd be getting. Let's start with security, identifying when unauthorized changes are happening, building a forensic trail of what changes are actually occurring, and starting to compare those changes both against past state, but also against desired state. You're answering questions like, how should these systems be configured? What are your internal best practices? What do third-party policies say about these secure configurations? And what do your own internal security policies say about how they should be configured? Comparing that desired state against the actual state. Compliance is another key aspect. When we think about SCM, just about every compliance standard out there has some level of configuration monitoring and integrity monitoring that's a key part of it. Auditors come in and they may ask you, show me what your change management process looks like. Show me the evidence that you're following that process for ensuring your systems are in a secure state. That's really what SCM is often about on the compliance side, demonstrating the evidence, having that key automated control in place to be able to show that you're following this process on an ongoing basis. The third part is from an IT operational perspective. When you think about SCM and uptime and availability, when something goes wrong, the first question people often ask is, what changed? If the database went offline on a Saturday and you want to get very quickly to the root cause, if you have a reference in your organization of every change that happened to every aspect of that database system, then you can very quickly get down to see something like an update was applied Friday evening by the administrator, and then Saturday morning, the database stopped working. Those kind of rapid forensics help you very quickly to get to root cause, and that can help improve your uptime and availability as well. When I think about what are the important aspects you need to know about a particular system or business process, all of this baselining information about how systems are configured and how these systems are changing are important pieces. And it's a problem that people often start and stop integrity monitoring with the idea of, I'm just going to gather the information about what's changed. I think what we've learned in security over time is just the information itself is an avalanche of data. What you really need to be able to do is be able to get into not just what happened, but what should have happened. Was this an undesirable or a desirable change? Was it an approved change or an unapproved change? Was it a change that created risk for the organization I need to do something about? Or was it part of my business as usual changes, those that are happening every day, week, and month that I want to log and record, but I don't want a human involved in reviewing those changes? Getting this deep information about what changes are happening and then having an effective process for identifying the changes and reconciling them back to what should have happened for your organization, that's what an effective program looks like. For some companies, reconciling the changes could be going back to a ticketing system, or it could be integrating it back to a DevOps process. The thing that's important is really understanding what are you going to do with this information. For some applications, that could be automated remediation of the issue. But for other traditional IT systems, it's really going to be up to the application owner or the system owner to actually go fix the issues. So it might be more about creating the automated workflow to get the right information to the people in your organization, not necessarily a technical action to go change something on the system. Now, let me give you two quick case studies of organizations that I've been working with around what their programs look like around security configuration management. First, a financial services firm, in this case, a top 50 international bank. For them, key attributes of their program was really focused around continuous monitoring, both for on-premise, virtualization, and private cloud infrastructure, as well as a public cloud elastic environment. For them, the real focus of integrity was around configuration standards. They needed to make sure when they were deploying new systems that those systems were securely configured against their standards at deployment and then throughout the entire life cycle of the applications. They wanted to make sure that their standards were being set up for each application and platform. And because they were a heavy DevOps shop, they wanted to make sure that the integration was directly into the DevOps process, so that when systems were being built, they could automatically get themselves into an immediate assessment, and then they could monitor that assessment across the lifecycle of the systems. When I think about the maturity of a security configuration management program, the scale of this organization's visibility, scaling it up to 1 million assets, is something that really showed this as a mature system. For this organization, it was also the application system owners who were going to be responsible for meeting configuration standards. So the job of the security team here was to make sure they could organizationally report and get this information out in a sensible way to all of the different system owners at that organization's scale. Being able to consolidate into a unified reporting and dashboard system was really important, and automation was absolutely critical because of the scale that they were operating at. It meant that they just couldn't do it manually. Now let me go through the second example. This is a large wireless carrier serving in the ballpark of 100 million customers. They've been doing integrity monitoring for a number of years, but over the last couple of years, the adoption of a new DevOps CI/CD pipeline has really changed how they think about integrity and change, particularly in their production server environment. In this case, they're working with CI/CD tools like Puppet and Chef, and what they needed to be able to do is to continuously monitor their production server environment to make sure the same process is being followed for every change that comes all the way from their source control system to their production servers. If they can trace the change back to an approved administrator who committed the change into source control, then they know it was following their process. Conversely, if a third party logged into the system directly, like instead of following the pipeline, they SSH into a Unix box and started editing files, they needed to know about those changes right away. And they do so by escalating those issues directly to their security operations center. When I think about the maturity of this organization's program, ongoing continuous monitoring of all the changes across their entire production server environment, that's something that's really, really nice to see. So a nice example of a mature process reconciling changes in an automated way in a DevOps environment. Tripwire has been a leader in helping thousands of organizations around the world build and mature their integrity assurance programs for over 20 years, encompassing everything from the factory floor to modern cloud applications to traditional IT environments. So no matter where you are from a maturity perspective, if you're just starting looking at how do I collect the data I need to do effective SCM, or you're looking to get yourself to the next level of maturity by incorporating real-time visibility, deep integrations to your existing IT infrastructure, and automating compliance across multiple standards and system types, Tripwire has the experience, the experts, and the technology to help. We offer our solutions as software you can deploy and run on your own, or as cloud-hosted services where we pair our Tripwire experts in running these programs with the proven Tripwire technology. Thanks so much for your time today.